Follow these 3 tips to secure an interview with a remote job. These are some things that worked for me so far. I just had 2 interviews done today, that both for remote positions, remote sales positions, and here are the steps. I'm Jack with Cultivating Media, and this is 7 Day Scoop Show, a weekly show where I document my career and decisions that I'm making. Yet adventures trying to pursue. I use my stories and my ventures to motivate and teach you. But yeah, guys, so I had 2 interviews today. One was with the VP of Sales for a 3rd round interview for tech sales company in the data space. The other interview was with a cold call position for a remote company in B2B contractor space. If you told the names, you would know. But as far as the process to get them, I think the thing that really has been going on with this entire process of me trying to find a new job and going through the steps to apply to companies, the first thing is that the volume is definitely the biggest one. I feel like my initial 25 a week was good. So at my peak, I was doing about 35 to 50 applications a week for just like sales, base and commission sales remote roles. And there's a lot of issues in that just because I'm a visitor, I'm outside of the space, so I haven't had that much experience in it. But I got a lot of second round interviews. I've gotten to 10, I want to say. I got to check the numbers on that. But today I had 2, like I said, two rounds today, 2 third rounds, one with the VP of sales. The other one was with the hiring manager for the other company. And the things I found worked best, volume's the first one. So the one company, the one I have met with the hiring manager, that one was 40K plus commission. The one I had with the VP of sales was 50K plus commission. And it took a lot of work and a lot of reps to even get to these positions to understand how to work it. So here are the tips I've learned so far, the process and like how things went. I'll give you that at the end. But the first thing that I discovered was volume, definitely the biggest part. Any sales thing, any job thing is gonna have just doing more reps. When I went from doing 25 a week to 35 a week, doing 50 a week, but still 35 on the SaaS side, but I mixed some other companies in. That was the initial part. Then it was finding different sites to get the jobs from. So I spent a lot of my time on LinkedIn, which is a lot of opportunities. But then I also, during that process, I found Built in Austin, which is a great spot for SaaS companies inside of Austin with the opportunity. And then I also found YouTubers who put up remote jobs. That's how I got the other one for the 40K company. So you gotta have a couple different lead sources of where the jobs are and where they have the opportunities. So the next thing that I do is that I email all the hiring managers, and so I email the hiring managers even if it's not listed. So I'll go on Apollo, go on LinkedIn and get it from there, or if I can find them on LinkedIn and I can't get their email from Apollo, I'll go on Gemini and I'll type in their name and then make like 3 to 4 email addresses based off different templates that are usually followed, and then just send one email and then BCC the rest, so at least one of them ends up hitting. And then I'll add the person on LinkedIn as well. Hey, it's applied, click, come talk to me. And I'll just do that over and over again, rinse and repeat. And that actually ended up working for me with this company because the VP of sales that I met with today, I emailed him like weeks ago before I even had a call back from the company, just because I just contacted him first and he told me who to contact and we connected, so it worked out pretty well. And it's not the first time I've done that either. So like this is like the second or third time I've done this. It happened to work out that way. So just because as you put more effort into a space or into a realm, it's not really going to have like it's not man, it worked the first time. You do it one time, like, oh, Dom, it didn't work. But then like you do it 10 times, it's going to work a little bit. So every time you put a little more effort, a little more investment into it, it does come back to you. So like I said, this is like the 3rd time I contacted a VP of sales, sent him something email-wise, sent him a Loom video, and this one ended up just being back ROI positive for where I am right now. And the people they need to contact early on is definitely a big one. The next thing that I did that I think really well, I mean, my LinkedIn, I rebranded my whole LinkedIn as far as like all the steps of what I do for the position I'm trying to be in, and then just curated all the wording to sound like the position I was in. So that's been really helpful, just making sure, taking all my sales experience and then pinning it into a position that sounds like a B2B sales position. So, learn. I would just use one of the chatbots, Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever one you want to use, and then just use the things you actually did, and then see how you can phrase it in ways that work in that way. Third thing was that for the first round interviews, knowing how to tell your story and everything you've done to how you get there. So the way mine broke down was, this is who I am, this is what things I do. These are the type of positions that I usually go for, sales type stuff. This is what I did previously, and this is why I pivoted from that previous thing into this type of company now, and then this is why I chose this company. So those were like the 4 steps that really kept my pace in conversation no matter what I was doing pretty well. And like it was a mix of like learning from other videos, learning from chatbots, learning from just like a lot of different learning and trying out, say this works and this works and this works. And then the next thing that I discovered that for like the second round interviews, that this VP interview was the first time I got like a 3rd stage interview, and since I've been doing this since the end of January. And the thing that I realized the most between all of them is that even though I was an outsider in the space, I didn't have a system for going about their, the thing I want to tell you is that you need to be, if you're new, you have to be knowing about their business. You have to be studying as you're going through the process of the interview. So, interview 1, you have your usual pitch that works about university for most of them. Interview 2, you have to have a little more depth of knowledge about the company, even if you don't work there. Even if you haven't worked in the space, knowing what their company information is. Like I went through their case studies and studied that, so I can talk to them about what they do and understood what they do. So that way I just stood out already from there. And that was the thing that really upgraded my skill set of like, oh, I need to make sure I know how to talk about this shit correctly, and now I can talk about it correctly. And what that did, just between this interview, the second round interview for this company, and the first round between the second round interview for the first company and the VP of sales interview I had today, I find that all of them said like you really articulated what the company does pretty well. And that's because I've been goddamn studying this shit for a set period of time. But that's what life, that's what I wasn't doing before. I wasn't learning the company more. So by the time the interview came, I had to make sure I can at least explain the company the right way. So that was the last thing. And then as far as what I've learned from the VP level interviews, it kind of depends on who they are. But what I will say is that you have to know what things you want to convey and talk about that will help you out the most, and make sure you say that shit. So like, even if they don't bring it up, like, oh yeah, hold on, actually, I wanted to say this. And like be able to do that to direct the conversation. Because a lot of times they don't always have it. If they're not very systematic on their interview process, it's kind of like a conversation, which is good. But having the points you want to talk about to them is great, because they at least to get that done. And then I always have to research a little bit about the person as well, so I know what they've done before, bring it up, ask them what made them pick the position they were in, and ask them why they stay with the company they're with, so you can get a little bit of context on their viewpoint of things, and then just see what the synergy is. But I think it worked out really well. For the second company, similar process. This third round interview, not as many steps as far as the position I'm going into for this one. But same thing, knowing my story, knowing about the company. You really gotta know why you wanna work for them and know what they do, and know how what you do relates to what they do. That's really simple. But I think I crushed both interviews today. They said they'll give me some more time. The VP of sales already said, hey, he said, I don't hire people, but you're good in my book, so good luck with the next steps, but you got my blessing. But it was good. Everything was good today, and a lot of steps in the journey. Still on the road to my first rental property, so that's going to be its own set of steps right there. But I am, just taking it one step at a time. Loving the journey, loving the process, loving the learning that comes with it, and taking one step at a time, we get there day by day.